Welcome to the Health Hour of the Home and Health Show here on WMUZ 1035 The Light. This morning, Mac welcomes Julie Lamphere and Dave Sanders from Brain Life Center. Now, here's your host, Mike McIntyre.
WMUZ 1035 The Light, Detroit made, Bible strong. Good morning. It's the Home and Health Show. Michael Thomas McIntyre with you with a hot cup of coffee in hand, ready to teach and educate and inform you about some wonderful things. We always have great partners with us joining us on Saturdays. Today, it's our friends from Brain Life Center, David and Julie, the dynamic brother and sister team in-house. Hi, guys.
How are you doing?
How are you? How's your summer, soon-to-be fall, been going?
It's been beautiful.
Yeah, very quick. It went by fast.
Yeah, it always does. And before you know it, it's snow shovels and it's... jackets again.
And, I'm thinking fall.
I'm going to enjoy some sunny fall days.
Well, the beautiful thing is it does bring back football and hockey, though, which are my two favorite things. So I am not one who is a guy that loves the heat and humidity, even though I was in the South for 10 years. It's not one of my favorite things in the world. I enjoy the heat, the 80s, the 85s without the humidity. Once it starts to get sticky and gooey outside, no, thank you. I've had my share this summer. I'm ready to see some gold and red and yellow and
I love the fall.
Nights at about 48 where you can just crack the window just a little bit. For me, that's ideal.
You sleep a little better.
Sleep great. Get out and get a run when it's about 70 during the day. And, oh, it's heaven. But speaking of sleeping, that's why you're here, because even the coolest temperatures in the world and the best conditions in the world for a lot of folks doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to be getting sleep. So tell us what you do and tell us how you can help some people out.
Well, sleep is a big one for us. We see it. We've been doing this for 10 years, and I've learned a lot about sleep and how many people are struggling with it. But what we use is a technology for the brain to help the brain balance itself. And as the brain does that, people start to sleep naturally. So we don't use any kind of drugs, anything that's invasive. It's a very healthy approach to getting the results that people need to be their best. So that we do it every day. We work with sleep.
Why are so many people struggling with sleep in today's world? Why is there so many folks? I'm not sure that I have less than 6 people in my life on a regular basis that look fried. They're tired. Maybe they went to bed at 10, 11 o'clock, tossed and turned all night, or you have those that go to bed and just lay there and look up at the ceiling, and there just seems to be an epidemic of sleep issues in this country.
Yeah, and there's so many things that can lead to sleep problems, and there's so many different types of sleep problems. But if you think about it, just once they introduced electric light, imagine the difference that made in messing up your timing, your sleep timing, your circadian rhythms, right? Being in tune with the sun rising and the sun setting. So you've got that. People start staying up late. Now move all the way to 2019, and you've got smartphones, you've got endless information, you've got information that's not always positive, right? You got the 24/7 news cycle, and they're not really bringing good news. So you've got kind of anxiety building, right? Anybody that knows a teenager, they know that they're spending a lot of time with that phone, and they take that phone to bed. So they've got a lot of blue light in their life, right? Television, all the screens that they're looking at are emitting a lot of light that is actually telling the brain, don't prepare to sleep.
Is there scientific proof that's showing that these handheld devices and computers are really causing disruption in the brain in terms of sleep?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, think of the different levels of that. If you are just staying up really late and you have no sleep routine, that's pretty straightforward, and that's science that's quite old. But as far as blue light and some of these things, there's more and more science and more studies coming out, and seems like the literature continues to point in that direction, that's a factor. You can even buy glasses these days that block blue light, and they say, put these on. If you're going to be on screens, put these on maybe 3 hours before bedtime, and at least you can say to the brain, look, let's prepare for sleep. So there's a number of papers out there I've read that are showing it's a big deal.
And for $29.99, we'll send you an extra pair of block blue glasses for free. Yeah. Is it like the Ginsu? Are these legitimate?
I bought some for $10.
Well,
see, they can be inexpensive.
Well, you know how it works. Does it work? There's
I
the
use
theory.
them when I'm on the computer, even during the day, because it messes. The computer screen can even mess with my vision. Right?
Yeah,
If I'm on the computer for a while and I look away, I can't see as clearly. So that's what I got them for. But
Yeah.
And if you order right now, get a carry case for free.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I don't think the science is conclusive on that. But what'll happen is, I mean, they're selling a lot of them. They also, you can put these screen protectors on that basically block the light.
Okay.
And we'll see what happens as the data comes out.
Well, and you throw in daylight savings time too, and that's always a good time too when the body gets re-clicked. And it seems to take forever when you go from falling back and then springing forward. I mean, for me, it's a psychological beatdown. I feel like it takes me 3 months to catch my sleep cycle back up. But
that just reminds me of an interesting study that we just were looking at. In fact, Julie and I were going through this earlier this morning. There's a worldwide study, in effect, that looks at, how does lack of sleep, even a 1 hour lack of sleep or less sleep than usual, how does that affect things like your mood, depression, things like that, anxiety? Yeah. Well, this study is kind of interesting. It turns out that 1 day a year, there's a clear distinction. It's the highest rate of suicide. Hate to bring things down. Wow. But
important. That's important.
This is the day after daylight savings time, the day that much of the world loses 1 hour of sleep. And so they're seeing a potential correlation between just reducing your sleep by 1 hour and having that little adjustment, and a dramatic difference with people who are already struggling.
I believe
it. And now go down a very dark road.
I believe it.
The good news, there's a lot. We don't always know what causes each individual not to be able to sleep. Sometimes it's just a stressful job. Sometimes it's a traumatic thing that's happened to them recently, and all of a sudden they can't sleep at night. Mm-hmm. But we do know that if we can get a look at the brain and show the brain itself through audio sounds, that the brain will reset. And as it does, many people who are still doing some of those things with their phones and they're dealing with the light, many of them still will find that they're not only sleeping, but they're getting quality sleep and they're waking rested for the first time. Mm-hmm. So it's just the brain's ability to reset. And I think we all know we're overstimulated. I mean, when you think about, you wake up in the morning, what your brain has to take in a 12-hour time frame, it's pretty incredible today.
Yeah, it's an amazing organ, that's for sure, in terms of all the information that we're taking in, everything we're absorbing. But you're not going to absorb that information or be able to retain if you aren't getting proper sleep. Yeah, we've had a lot of fun working with people who are real high performers, and they come in and they're wanting to up their game. And maybe they're business owners, maybe they're professional athletes. They're just maybe in a high stress, high pressure job, but they love it and they want to perform at that high level. For them to come in and get the proper sleep within just a few weeks, what they notice as far as their ability to get in the zone, to really focus on what their goals are and achieve them, their ability to work with teams. I mean, their productivity level goes up so quickly. And these are people who are already high performers. So we're constantly discovering the power of really proper deep sleep where you're waking rested, you can focus better, you have energy throughout the day, and even memory consolidation occurs primarily at night. Your ability, so if you're a student and you're getting ready to take a test, if you're sleeping right before and after, it is amazing the difference that makes with your test score. Well, there's a cleaning process in the brain that happens when you're in deep sleep, correct? It's almost like a filtration system that's getting plaque and cleaning this out. Talk about that real quickly before we go to break.
Well, it's called the glymph system. They discovered this not too long ago, and they found that the brain has its own unique cleansing mechanism, and it's a completely different system than the rest of the body. And what's important is that about 95% and above of this cleaning takes place during proper sleep cycles. Mm-hmm. So if you're not sleeping right, you're literally building up waste, plaque in the brain, and over time, this can lead to a lot of bad things. Now, anybody that hasn't slept well, even for a day, they know they're not firing on all cylinders.
Right.
So, I mean, now we just know, science often points out things that we kind of knew to be true, but just gives us a lot of facts to back it up.
Wow. Really interesting stuff, guys. Thanks for being here this morning. It's Brain Life Center. Talk about kids a little bit. Is it the same procedure? Because I know that what you guys do, having gone through this, it's certainly non-invasive. There's no medicine involved. There isn't like putting people to sleep or having to inject anything. But for the parents out there that are noticing their kids having concentration problems, we're coming into a school year here. And I know that can be a high-level stress for a lot of people who are especially the parents that are kind of gripping down, going, here we go again. Is it going to be a long year?
Yeah.
How can I help my kid out? I don't want to see Jane or Jimmy struggle this year. I don't necessarily expect them to be an all-A student, but man, I just don't want the tears in the morning and the resistance to get on the school bus because they can't focus. Let's talk to the parents a little bit about what you can do to just calm everything down and really see a progression, a positive progression heading into this school year.
Well, we love working with kids. We've worked with thousands of kids.
Tell me the ages, Dave. Where do you start?
Around 5 years old.
Okay.
I mean, really 5 to 95.
Okay.
Right?
I do have to just say, I have had my 3-year-old grandson in, and we've done a full intensive. And
okay.
So, but they do have to be able to sit still because we're putting sensors on the head. And if they're not capable of doing that for a good 45 minutes, they don't have to be perfectly still. We do give them something to watch. We can manage quite a bit of that, but they have to be able to keep those sensors on their head.
Yeah, I want to explain that before you get back into your thought.
You're right.
Before you get back into your thought, Dave, I do want to explain that when you are sitting in the chair and the information, the technology is happening and they're processing everything, you do look up at a screen, and it is a very kind of relaxing sort of time to just get yourself in a state of mind. And for your kids, it's the same way. There's something that they can look up at and be preoccupied. So if you have a little bit of a squirmer or a little bit of an impatient child, because I would imagine a lot of these kids that are coming in already are having concentration and focus issues. So there's probably
ADHD. They've been diagnosed somewhere, and the parents,
some agitation.
They're kicked out of school. At,
You get
7 years old.
Agitation in the chair. The kid might be a little squirmy, but I want parents to know that you can overcome this.
We can determine that at the assessment too, because we'll work with their child, and in that assessment period of time, we'll get a feel of whether we think this child can handle going through the process. And we'll be honest, if we don't think it's a fit now, sometimes it's like, let's get back together in a year,
It's funny because I can't help but think of a number of stories that our technologist would share with you of how they came up with really creative methods to help a little boy that was just squirming actually sit still. And so that's a big deal when this little boy can't sit in school, right? They've kicked him off the little flag football team because he can't stay in
little
the
Johnny's running up and down the sideline. And it's funny, but it's
tough.
It's excruciating really when you're a parent and you want to include your children in all these activities, and you want them to have, the full experience of what being a kid is about.
Yes.
And, if they've got a doctor that's told them that it's an ADD or ADHD diagnosis and their kids are hopped up on drugs, you've got all this to deal with, and, you feel like in that situation that you're probably doing more exercise than the kid is because, or you've got to tell the coach.
Takes a little patience.
Right, and then the coach
creativity.
has to make sure little Johnny's not wandering off to the 10-yard line when you're just about to snap the ball and he's not in the lineup. You know what I mean? There's so many exasperating things that happen, but the great news is that you can help. And that's what's so important about this message is I know the frustration of parents. I talk to parents. I'm knee-deep in kids' sports, in gymnastics and hockey with both of my kids, and I see it every single day. And I see these children in some instances that are taking drugs so they can participate in a sport.
Right.
And you can see the difference when the kid doesn't take his medication or her medication. And I'll just be honest, for me, it's heartbreaking as a parent to watch it because you feel so bad for this kid.
Yeah.
It's really nice that there is an alternative. So you're right. I mean, parents know this kid's out of control and we need to do something, and it's gonna spiral downward because he can't get along with another child, right? He's becoming the outcast. But there are less intrusive modalities like ours that actually can help them get over that hump. And it's really nice because it's natural, right? Yeah. One of the great things about this technology, it creates an auditory mirror. So the brain gets to hear itself live.
Right.
So if you're 5 years old, you don't have to have any understanding of what the technology is doing, but your brain is hearing these unusual sounds, which are in fact itself live in the locations we're choosing. So this little boy or girl, they sit and listen to these tones. The brain naturally figures out, this is me. It sees the areas that need to be corrected. It self-corrects, and that little boy starts to settle down. But it's a natural approach because it's just self-correction.
Well, let's talk about self-correction a little bit, and I'd like Michelle to explain it a little bit because she had a confidence issue and a focus issue and a sleep issue, and she's been able to overcome and accomplish so much more. And I'd like to hear from her right now and let her tell us about her experience.
Okay.
Well, I came because I've had severe, I say had, severe insomnia for 28 years, and it had gotten so bad, especially within the last 2 years. I lost my husband to death and my mother, and it just got so bad. It was just spiraling. So I was like sleeping 1 hour a night. And since I came here, I'm getting 5 to 6 to 7 hours of uninterrupted sleep. And I'm just so thankful for that.
Have you noticed anything with things like self-confidence?
Absolutely. I feel more confident in myself because when I wasn't sleeping, you don't have a lot of confidence. But now I can focus better. I can accomplish. I'm a driven person as far as accomplishing projects and stuff, but I wasn't accomplishing much without sleep. And so I have much more confidence and I can focus better, and I'm just doing much better.
Tell me a little bit more about, you had mentioned self-confidence, that you've noticed an improvement there. Share a little bit more about that.
Well, when you sleep, everything seems better. And I have more self-confidence. People have noticed it at work. And I've been able to focus better. I feel better about myself when I sleep. And I would recommend this place to anybody and everybody.
Well, I noticed the one thing that she said was she felt a sense of power, a sense of, I guess, as you mentioned, confidence in the interview. That's a powerful thing. That's a powerful statement. When you're able to regain what you think was lost or didn't recognize that you even had it in the first place because you're so used to kind of not having that as part of your personality. What a moment.
Yeah, confidence is something that if you have it, you don't think about it. But if you don't have it, you notice that you don't have it.
Right.
And if you have lived without confidence and all of a sudden you're living your life with confidence, it's a changer,
it's
a game changer, right?
Powerful thing.
The other thing that is she says, and I think this is what we hear so many times, when you're not sleeping, you're not doing anything well.
Mm-hmm,
you may know yourself to be a strong person, or like she said, a person that can get projects done. But if you're not sleeping, you're not doing any of those things well.
Well,
right?
if your story is very similar to Michelle's, you have the right people here to help you out. Brain Life Center joining us live. So make this phone call today. We'd like to get this as filled up as we can by about 2 o'clock this afternoon. So call 248-922-9490. Someone will take your phone call immediately, and you can begin a process of discovering some of these things that you may not have even known you had, like confidence and focus and a great night's sleep. We're back with more next. WMUZ 103.5, The Light.
We'll be right back with Mac, Julie Lamphere, and Dave Sanders from Brain Life Center on the Home and Health Show here on WMUZ 103.5, The Light. Detroit made, Bible strong. Now we return with Mac, Julie Lamphere, and Dave Sanders from Brain Life Center on the Home and Health Show here on WMUZ 103.5 The Light. Detroit made, Bible strong.
Thanks for coming back to the Home and Health Show this morning. I appreciate you being here. Hope your Saturday is going great. Brain Life Center joining us, and it's our good friends David and Julie. They are a brother and sister team, and they have been helping people with anxiety issues and sleep problems and energy, lack of energy and focus and concentration issues and hopelessness for a number of years. 248-922-9490 out at University Drive in Auburn Hills, serving us here since like 2009 and doing great work for many of us. We heard from Michelle during our last segment, and she had been someone who hadn't been sleeping for decades, very reminiscent to what Bob Duco was going through. But I mean, I'm no expert, and that's why you're here. I would imagine if you're not sleeping for 5, 6 months, 3 months, your life is just completely flipping upside down.
That's right. You mentioned earlier the glymph system, the brain's ability to cleanse itself. And we know now that the majority of this takes place, over 95% of the cleansing mechanism only takes place during proper sleep cycles. So imagine over 20 years of poor sleep. She's talking 1, 2, 3 hours. I mean, this is many years of plaque buildup. It's a good simple term, but just imagine all this waste and how that affects. Yeah, your brain.
Like your heads would be in a fishbowl or something. You know what I mean? Like you're just swirling in water or something, just kind of walking around like a zombie. I mean,
you can't make decisions. You can't think rationally.
It's terrible.
It spirals into so many problems. And first and foremost, everybody knows if you have one night of bad sleep, you're not going to be performing on such a high level the next day.
Truth.
And so there's so many reasons for that, but I think it's important for people to know. You mentioned young people, and of course, age 5 to 95. Whenever we can get in there and help somebody correct their sleep and start sleeping properly, it's quite a life changer. But we love getting in there with these younger kids because instead of if we could have met this woman 20 years ago, the trajectory of her life would have changed because after 20 years, imagine, I mean, we hear this a lot, but people say, I wish I'd have gotten here a little bit earlier, especially, why did I have to suffer like this for 20 years? There's an actual alternative, a natural alternative now that technology has brought us that can naturally help the brain sleep properly, and it repairs, it consolidates memory. Yeah. I mean, all of these things that are so essential, there's a method that's beyond these intrusive medications that works at a high success rate. We're talking over 90% on a regular basis. If you come to us, you follow our instructions, you go through this process, which is a very short amount of time, you're sleeping better, and your life changes.
I think the key word that you mentioned there is at least a hope or a glimmer of hope that if you have a child that's medicated right now, there maybe not, but there may be an opportunity for them to come off of these drugs, which I think is really super positive because I know some kids are on medication and some do need it, but a lot of them are written a script because of the medical process. You go in, you speak to a doctor, or you have somebody evaluate your child in a classroom situation. They make a quote-unquote diagnosis, pass that on. You become part of the machine. You're into the doctor. The doc's kind of reading what he's seeing, and then it's a script, and then you got a kid that's, on this stuff. And I don't want to be anti-medication. I certainly don't, but I think most parents would rather have an alternative to maybe not having
given
to put
an
their
option.
Kids on.
If you just think of medication as one option or one tool, you want to have a lot more tools in your toolbox.
Right.
You don't want to have just one. So get familiar with the other ones that are out there. The Brain Life Center is a natural tool that has no side effects, that can give the results, repair the problem, not just manage the problem. We want to repair the problem so it doesn't exist anymore, so you don't need the medications, right? There's a different approach there. And I'm thankful for doctors and all that they do.
Sure.
But there are times where you just need to know what other tools are out there so you can make a decision.
You will see children. So if there are parents at home right now that are really having some difficulties keeping up with the energy of their kids, or they're really just having a tough time in school with focus, or there's anxiety or
behavioral issues, we work
stuff,
with.
and because we're coming into a brand new school year, and there's nothing worse than a parent who gets a knot in their stomach about this time, going, "Oh, here we go. It's going to be another year. What do I do? Where do I go? I don't want to have to put my kids on medication. I need a solution. I've tried everything. I cannot do another school year like this."
Yeah, even social anxiety. It's amazing how young children at that age already have social anxiety.
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
That's a
so
big one.
please reiterate that your technology is available for them.
Absolutely. Like I say, we age 5 to 95, and we work with a whole range of issues. If you have a brain and you want to feel what it's like to have that optimized, it really is an eye opener.
Wow.
As you know, I mean, it's quite an eye opener to have the brain functioning on that level.
Well said, my friend. All right, guys. As always, great conversation, and the technology is constantly improving too, which is even more exciting.
It is. I mean, we've been doing it in this area for 10 years, but it's been around for about 18. And if you picture, smartphones are getting better. Yeah. And that's what's happening.
Changing,
this is computer reliant. Yeah, it's improving dramatically.
Wow. Great stuff, guys. Give a call. Let's get these chairs loaded up at Brain Life Center. Again, they're at University Drive in Auburn Hills. The phone number 248-922-9490. Invite you to find these guys on their website too. Where can people find you on your social platforms?
BrainLifeCenter.com. BrainLifeCenter.com.
All right, guys.
Better yet, call. Just call and come see us.
Yeah, we have people that are there to take calls.
Right now, 248-922-9490. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great weekend. WMUZ 1035, The Light.
Thanks to Julie Lamphere and Dave Sanders from Brain Life Center. Experience calmness and peace, better quality sleep, improved focus and concentration that can help you get more things done. Make your appointment with them today. Go to WMUZ.com/Home and Health Show for contact information.